Coming in. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. This is our, Eamon and Justine, is this what, our third or fourth town hall meeting, I think, at this point, depending on how you count them. So I really appreciate everybody coming. We started these town hall meetings with the idea that communication with our parents has always been one of our strengths. And we're just cognizant that because we can't let you on campus, we just don't see you as much. We miss you guys, and we want to keep you as informed as possible. Tonight, there's not a lot of new, actually, let me go through the formatting first. So sorry, I muted everybody upon entry, and you can't unmute yourself. We started doing that just because it eliminates any background chatter. If you have questions, please put them in the chat box, and the chat box will come privately to me. And then I will answer any questions that I can. If I have time, I will answer you individually in the chat box, but I'm also trying to present, so forgive me if I don't get to that. And then I will also write down any questions you have and address those at the end. My advice is to try and keep questions till later in the presentation, in hopes that we do a good job and actually answer most of those questions. But by all means, feel free, and I'll do the best we can to answer any questions that you feel to us. So tonight's format, I'm going to do a little introduction, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gregory and Miss Justine Wilson to go over some slides and some information, and we'll sort of take turns in that. And then when we get to the end, we'll go over any questions that you have. In the briefest of introductions, we know that this is an unusual school year. I have been doing this, it pains me to say, but close to 30 years now. And to say that this is the most unusual year I've ever seen in that 30-year history would be a massive understatement. We've gotten a lot of praise and a lot of really kind words about how hard we're working to try and make this work. But blended learning is new for us, and it's new for you. Last year when we went fully online, that was a very distinctive type of learning, but we were all in the same learning environment. Now we've gone to a blended learning model, and that's another adjustment. So we're learning and growing just like every other educator in every other school on the planet. Tonight's presentation is to really talk a little bit about the new schedule that's coming up next week. As you've probably heard, if you read the Raptor report, we asked, as many schools did with the MOE, to get permission to, the MOE's current directive is still only to have 30% of your kids on campus. But we asked permission to get that based on capacity rather than student enrollment. And that might not sound like a big deal, but our current enrollments are a little over 1,000, but our capacity is almost 1,700. So 30% by capacity means that we can start bringing your students in every other day rather than once a week. And we all know that FaceTime with our teachers is really the most valuable thing that we can provide you as educators. So I was really pleased that we got permission to do that from the MOE. Thank you to Ms. Rauda and the MOE for letting us do that. And I hope that will help alleviate any concerns that any of you guys may have. I will talk more about this as we get into the slides, but I did really want to mention that I'm really proud of the school and my team and the safety precautions that they've taken for your students. We had our second ministry inspection yesterday, and it was a surprise inspection. I didn't even know it was happening until I saw the MOE with our government relations officer. They inspected the entire school, and it's the second time we got commendations, and we're basically told that we're essentially the model school, that this is what the MOE and the Ministry of Public Health were hoping for when they set up these guidelines. So I'm really proud of my team for that. We'll go through these slides and hopefully it will answer any questions. But in short, next week we'll be moving to a red, blue virtual day on Thursday, so that your kids will be on campus twice a week with a virtual day with their teachers on Thursday. And with that, I'll turn it over to Miss Justine. She's going to sort of go through it's going to be a little redundant if you were in our previous grand opening scheme, because not everything has changed. But we want to go through it one more time for anybody who hasn't seen it. And there have been some minor changes. So Justine, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks again for everybody joining us tonight. Looks like we have a great number of participants, so thanks for joining us. So the goals of our reopening plan, like Mr. Mark had just said, is to keep the communication clear as possible. I know many of you were asking questions as soon as that Ministry of Education, Ministry of Public Health announcement was made last week. We were really trying to make our message really clear for you. Thus, our town hall meeting today and the email communication you received earlier today. We want to make sure that families and staff are safe and comfortable, meaning that we're clear in our communication. We also want to be doing what's best educationally, which you'll see laid out and continuing to be laid out in our blended learning plan. And we're continuing to follow those guidelines. Our goal is to stay open and healthy. So we just want to reinforce that we want you to send your children to campus, assuming that they're not of high risk and you're feeling comfortable. If you do send your kids to campus, which we're obviously hoping you do, please make sure your kids are symptom-free and healthy, that they have not been in contact with anyone who is testing positive for COVID. Adults are always showing that green ETHRAS status. And if you have traveled internationally within 14 days, please make sure the children as well are following that MOHP guidelines. So we did have some COVID cases on campus, and Mark wanted to address you all in regards to that. So here are some points that you can read as he's talking through.
So, I think when I think about the COVID cases, my heart goes out to the families that had COVID, and I know their quarantine is ending and they're all doing well. So that was really good news to hear. But in many, many ways, not just for our school, but for everybody in the world, what we're doing is, to some extent, a grand experiment, if you will. These are all guidelines that were created by the world's doctors and scientists and governments in order to protect their citizens and our students. But you really don't, for myself personally and for our team, we followed every guideline from the MOE, from the Ministry of Public Health, and from GEMS. And we really aired, the SLT and I had a lot of long discussions. We really aired on the conservative side. There's a real sense or need to want to be as liberal as possible to make it as welcoming and fun for your kids as we can. But on the other side, we know that you really want us to keep them safe. So we really aired on being as conservative as we could in every single directive that we've been given. But the question was, does it work? Is it going to work if we get a COVID case? We had 3 separate COVID cases. In each situation, the child contacted COVID through another family member outside of school, came to school unwittingly. They didn't know that they had COVID at the time. They were in contact with other students and staff during that time, and then got the positive report and reported it to us. We immediately contacted the Ministry of Public Health. We followed all of their contact tracing guidelines. We had 47 students and 18 staff members tested and quarantined based on the 3 separate cases. And I'm really proud to say that there was no infection or contagion in the school whatsoever. So from that grand experiment, To me, that says we really are safe, that our measures that we've instituted really are working. And I firmly believe both of my children go to GEMS, and I firmly believe that they're safer at GEMS than they are in any other area that we go if they're in public. I talked to a family today that literally hasn't left the house in 6 months except for the father who's working. The children haven't left in 6 months, and I applaud them for that level of commitment. And everybody has to deal with this situation differently. But for those of us, myself included, whose children are now sometimes going, we went to a restaurant this week. That was great. We haven't done that in a really long time. And we are venturing out. I for a long time did all the grocery shopping myself, but we went together recently, which was awesome. But I don't have the level of confidence in any of those places. Our pool opened up this summer. That was amazing, right? Suddenly we could go swimming. My little guy loves that. But I just don't have the level of confidence in any of those places that I have at our school. My staff clean every single classroom by hand every night. The chairs, the desks, the chairs' legs. I've personally sat in meetings where we showed them you can't just do the top of the desk. Little kids are going to touch the bottom of the desk. You got to do everything. And just in case we miss something, we've bought some really high-tech, fancy sanitizing, fogging equipment. It's very science fiction-esque, but every nook and cranny of that school is completely sanitized every evening. So as a parent, I feel 100% safe sending my kids to school. I know they're safer there than they are anywhere else when they leave the house. So when you're making that choice between fully online or blended learning, you really have to ask yourself two questions. One is, what's the most important thing for my child's safety? And two, what's the most important thing for my child's education? If you're that parent whose children have never left the house, then by all means, choose to stay home. But if your child is going to leave the house for any reason, I'd encourage you that school is the place to send them. A, because it's safe, and B, because we know that's what's best for their education. And I'm really excited that we're going to start seeing more kids on campus next week in 2 days a week. Justine, Eamon, Susan, did I miss anything in that? Thanks, guys. Justine, you're muted.
Thanks. So with that, I just wanted to address you with the lower school plan, which overlaps nicely that will lead to the upper school plan. So Sunday will be a day that we are welcoming the red group, as well as Tuesday, while the blue group will come to campus on Monday and Wednesday. And then everyone, including the kids that have chosen to be online, everyone will be welcome to Zoom with their teachers on Thursday. We do get the question quite regularly, okay, so I know what to do on the red days when my kid is a red kid, and I know what to do on Thursday, but what do I do on Monday and Wednesday? And I guess I'll just take a moment to say, the Phoenix classroom wasn't working as well as we had hoped, with lots of technical glitches. And we realized that the learning plans, especially in the lower school, just wasn't really working very well. And so we switched all of the lower school from KG2 up to grade 5 over to Seesaw. So all of you should have your learning codes. All of the kids should be into Seesaw. So the red group is going to come on Sunday, while the blue group should have plenty to do on Seesaw, between watching videos and doing activities and tuning in for any Islamic classes they would have that will be live, as well as Arabic for native and non-native students. So then blue group comes on Monday while red group is at home doing online learning through Seesaw. I see a question that came through to me about the white group. So as Mark had said, we're going to be welcoming more students to campus. So there is no more white group. The white group has been absorbed into the blue and the red. All parents should have received an email that went out this afternoon at about 2:30. And it came from the GEMS email. So have a look in your email for anything that came from the school this afternoon around 2:30, and you'll find that your children have been assigned a different color group. If you were red before, it's likely that your children are red again, but please check that email. The same thing with blue. It's likely that your children are blue, but not 100% guaranteed. And then that white group, you know you have to check because your kids have been reassigned a color. We do encourage for anyone that's doing the distance learning, online learning option fully, please engage with that online learning through Seesaw for 4 days of the week. Attend the office hours. That's where you can really connect with the teacher. Right now, I mean, I'm telling 122 of you, but right now the office hours have not been attended well at all. This is your opportunity to really get that time with your teachers one-on-one, especially because no one's attending. So it might just be you and the child's, the child and the child's teacher, in which case you can review any questions there are from the week, get clarifications. The teacher is going to connect with the kid. They're just waiting for you to pop in there. And then we will be asking anyone that's in the online and distance learning option, we will be asking you to come to campus at certain points throughout the school year, as the MOE has said we can, for assessments. So, and those will be like very safe, very small numbers, but we're going to definitely need to see your kids at some point for some assessments on campus, and we'll let you know well in advance when those times will be. So I think that, Susan, do you have anything to add about the lower school schedule? Oh, you probably can't unmute yourself. Hold on. I see you. Oh, there you go. Okay.
There we go. Hi. We have been getting feedback that it has been a little bit challenging to find some of them, and we are working with that to normalize that for all the grades. And so by Sunday, hopefully we should have it more clear, and yes, everything should live in Seesaw.
You'll be following the learning schedule that's outlined, and then you'll go to a folder in Seesaw that will have the lesson/activity for the kids. All right, we are going to turn it over to upper school because their schedule is very similar but has some differences as well.
Yeah, I've gone a little bit more in detail with the schedule, with the timings, and on my parent bulletin this week I'll attach this in some sort of way so it's there for you to look at. I think one of the biggest complaints we've got over the last few weeks is that the timings in Alma are not necessarily what are what's happening in school, and I know that's caused a bit of confusion. I've been working with Alma to try find a solution to fix the timings, but for the most part for next week, with the Alma schedule will be correct for Sunday through Wednesday. The Thursday times are a little different. We're essentially going to half-an-hour classes on Thursday so that you can check in with your teacher. And we've added another office hour on Thursday there, if you can see, between 10 o'clock and 11 on a Thursday starting next week, just so that the high-risk online students have that point of contact. The only thing I would say that might be a little bit different from lower school with the office hours is that keep in mind that if you're checking in on office hours with Miss Ali on a red Tuesday, she teaches 125 to 150 students, So it's sort of more for the online students, rather than the students who are coming in and having that live class. It's like a check-in point to have some quick questions, or miss, I don't know how to do this, what do I do? I'm having issues with this link or anything like that. But I think Miss Justine and the lower school, for the most part, it's a red, blue, red, blue. I think she was well spoken. She sort of got all the points through. I know that the links are all going to be in Alma. We've sort of peeled back from Phoenix, and we're sort of going pure Alma. And in the bulletin, there's sort of in the bulletin in each class there's Zoom links, so you can find all of that. And we just the days that the students come in, the contact days, we're going to be posting more asynchronous work for students to do. So it's going to be sort of difficult for the online students in a way. So I suggest those office hours really need to be used. If you're on a red day, you come in, you do your class, and work is posted for you to do asynchronously if you're at home on a red day. And then Thursday, sort of the whole class zooms in and you get to chat and check in. I know over the last few weeks that I'm an AP calculus teacher, so I have 16 students who sort of rely on me for mathematics at the moment, and they're crying out to be in the class with me and to do examples. Simple thing, like it's very old school teaching, but doing examples on the board with them, they really want that one-to-one sort of or not one-to-one, but in-class learning. And I'm really looking forward to this next week, that I get to see my kids or my students twice a week, because I think that's more educationally beneficial to them than the online learning. So I highly recommend, if you can, to send your students to school. I think what Mr. Lentz said earlier was very true. If you have to decide your child is leaving your house for one thing, that one thing needs to be education. It has to be the priority for them, especially for the high school students, 9 through 12, to try get them on track for graduation and whatnot. But I think that's it. Mark, do you think I missed anything? Good?
No, good. You hit the nail on the head.
Okay. I'm sorry if I talk too quick. That's my Irish accent and sort of upbringing, but
I just want to say briefly that if you haven't seen it yet, the full document for our reopening plan, it has been revised and will be linked to the parent drop down on the GAAQ website. And I'm certain it will be in the Raptor report as well. So we'll need your help, as always, to keep campus safe and open. So keep your child home if they have symptoms, follow the protocols with the masks, and communicate any health concerns to the school. Lots of you have been doing that, which has been great. Talk and practice with your children. Arrival and dismissal has been going pretty smoothly. Please make sure, as more kids come to campus, that you are aware, if you have an upper school student, who that last period teacher is, so you can get your child dismissed, and sending messages on Dojo if you're a lower school parent. And kids have been wearing masks, the teachers have been wearing masks, and it's been going really, really well. There's just resources attached for you, which is on the website in the reopening plan. And Mark, do you have any other words?
Yeah, we got some really good questions in. Thanks, because I think it'll help clarify some things that other people might have asked. And Justine, as the co-host, can you see the chat box as well?
I only see when they send me a message. I don't see the messages that are sent to you.
Okay. Well, having done a few of these now, I'm cognizant that sometimes as I'm answering a question, it creates a question. And it's hard to be speaking and reading and typing at the same time. I'm not quite, I haven't adapted that skill yet in this new environment, so I'll do the best I can.
I think because I'm a co-host, if people have a burning question, you're welcome to send it to me as well.
Okay, thank you. I'd also like to say that, like I said, some really amazing questions and some great compliments and feedback. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me that you recognize how hard my staff are working. And I also recognize that this isn't easy for you guys. Completely virtual, I think we've got our hands around. We had a couple of months of that. Going back to normal and having all your kids on school at this point would be a dream for us, and I'm sure a bigger dream for you. The middle ground is a new thing that we're figuring out, and I recognize just how difficult that might be for your kids and for you guys as parents. If you ask me an individual question that I don't get, I addressed as many as I could, as quick as I could. If I didn't get to it, I'm sorry. Please send me an email if you feel like I didn't address your question. There are 8 sort of big questions. Well, probably a really obvious one. Do we have to fill out the survey? The MOE said all schools have to do a survey. For you guys, our survey is a very simple link. It was in last week's Raptor report. It's an online link. It will literally take you a minute. And to be honest with you, if you're coming on campus, you don't have to fill that out. What we really need is to know who's not coming on campus. So if you're choosing fully online, if you could click that button and let us know that, that would be great. And a couple of people have asked what that looks like at the moment. We ran basic numbers on those who've answered, and 16% of our parents have asked for online learning. And most of those have already filled out our high risk forms, and we understand their individual needs. But it seems like the vast majority of parents just really want their kids to have more teacher contact time. And so our learning plans are really built around that. A couple of you guys have asked, with us going to 2 groups and 30% by capacity, what does that mean for class size? Yesterday, Alex and his team in admissions spent a lot of time moving the white group into the blue and the red groups and trying to really balance things out. Your average class size was going to be about 8 to 12 right now. In upper school, a few of our specials might have a slightly larger class size. But if they do, we won't teach them inside the standard classroom. We've set up a couple of spaces where kids could socially distance. We've had staff meetings in the gym where you could socially distance probably up to 100 people. We've never had anything even close to that. I think the largest group we had was 15 or 20. But you could have kids 15 feet apart in the gym and still have 20 or 30 kids in there. But I don't see that happening. Like I said, your average class size is still going to be around 8 to 12. And our number that we've been looking at is 15 to 16 in a classroom, safely socially distanced. So 8 to 12 is plenty of space, and easily able to social distance. What happened to white group is a great question. We discussed a lot of different options. One of our ideas was maybe we'll just eliminate the colors and go to stars and stripes, or emeralds and rubies, or just to try and start from scratch. But the easiest way for us to make the new groups was to split white group. I do want to caution you, though, if you're in red or blue group, you probably haven't changed, but please check. In order to keep siblings in the same group and balance things, we did it as little as possible, but it is possible you could have switched groups. That hasn't happened often. Also, a cautionary statement. Your kids, and probably you guys, are used to, hey, I'm in red, so I'm always on Sunday. Good news, red, you're still on Sunday and you're on Tuesday. Blue used to be Tuesday. You're not Tuesday anymore. You're now Monday and Wednesday. So I'm pretty confident I'm going to have some blue kids show up on that first Tuesday, and they're going to be confused. If it happens, we won't hurt them. I promise. We'll be nice. We'll be gentle. But blue, you are now Monday and Wednesday, and white, you are now either red or blue. The related question to that is, staff have said, well, what about my buses? My bus schedule will change. I'll be on a different day. Do I need to notify transportation? You don't need to do that. We've done that for you. They know that what your days are. your buses will be the same time, same location on the given days that we just mentioned. Let's see. This is an important one. I was given a group, but I chose distant learning. Does that mean that they don't know that I want distance learning fully? No. It's just the way that you're on the lists that it would have been impossible to figure that out. So we know that you're on distance learning, even if you're on red group or blue group. You don't need to notify us. It's fine. And then two sort of big ones. A couple of people wrote about the amount of work and the amount of asynchronous work and just how hard your kids are working. I said to my SLT, and it's something every year, like I said, I've been doing this far too long, but every year, even in like normal quote unquote school years, I get complaints that my kids don't get enough work and complaints that my kids work too hard. And somehow in my brain, if they're balancing out, if I get 10 complaints in a week that my kids have too much work and 10 complaints in a week that they don't have enough work, I figure we're somewhere in the middle. I am cognizant that I've gotten far more concerns about too much work than I have about not enough work. So we will be having meetings. We have our staff meetings tomorrow. We're definitely going to talk to the teachers about that. I think it's, I know where it comes from talking to my department heads in upper school. There's just this real passion for wanting to make sure that your kids are on track, that all the normal standards are being taught, and that all the information they would have gotten in a quote unquote normal environment is being met. But that's hard. And I recognize this is sometimes an insurmountable task for students and parents. So we will take that feedback into consideration. Eamon? Uh-oh. You should be able to talk in a minute.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just on that, we have had conversations this week with the department heads and whatnot in upper school, talking about that work, and especially in grade 6, we've talked about the transition and how those guys are struggling right now, and we're cognitive of that. The only thing I would add is that the AP courses that we offer in high school, unfortunately, that content it's difficult for us to sort of slow down on an advanced placement course, because the college or the college board, their test exam dates are still the same worldwide. They're in May, so there's a certain amount of content that we need to cover. So I know for when I'm having this conversation tomorrow with the teachers, the AP teachers are probably a little bit of an exception, because they need to be pushing the kids. And I know some of the students right now are struggling with the AP courses, but I'd be telling most of the other teachers, sort of the normal content teachers, to sort of relax a little bit on the assignments. But yeah.
Good. Last question. And actually, it gave me a chance. Thanks, Eamon. It gave me a chance to field one more question. A couple of people have asked about the online learning. And with the new schedule, does that mean my child can only interact with their teacher once a week if they're fully online? And the answer to that is no. We'll make sure that there are several other times during office hours where your children can connect with their teachers to individually to make sure. And that's what the literature out there says at the moment. As much as FaceTime is important with teachers, if children have to work asynchronously, having individual FaceTime with their teacher to go over those assignments is really important. So we'll make sure we know that that's built into the schedule. Justine?
I just want to add, for lower school students, structure, I mean, for all students, really, but in particular, the littlest ones, we are counting on parents to teach those, like, what we call executive skills, organization, time management, some structure. So as hard as it might be, really, we're begging you to wake them up on time every day, to feed them breakfast, to get them ready for school by 7:30. Routines and structure really help kids' brains develop. So as hard as that might be at home, and however many kids you might have, please try to instill that as a value, so that if you are doing learning online, the kids are they're ready, their routine is set, and they can be engaging with the learning as scheduled. That will help with people not feeling as overwhelmed as you might if you don't have a schedule. And if you need some strategies for that, talk to your homeroom teachers, talk to me and Miss Susan. We're happy to support you in that. And we really thank you for your partnership, for sure.
Oh, you stole the word. I was going to say partnership. That was going to be my ending. That was my ending spiel. I love it when we're on the same page. So the last sort of maybe biggest question is Phoenix. If you've been in any of the last two town halls, we addressed that. So I won't belabor it too long, but in short, I just like to say that, you know, I really understand philosophically Jem's idea that as online learning becomes a new reality, and as we as educators worldwide have really realized that we have to embrace more virtual learning environments, Jem's concept was to create, we as teachers right now, we tend to piecemeal. There's no one software out there that's been solely designed to meet all the different needs of an individual school. And so we tend to make a bit of a patchwork of different softwares, and Jem's put a lot of time and energy into researching what those various needs were in the GEMS network and create one program that would do all that to make it easier for you as parents and to make it easier for your students. And again, philosophically, I think that's an amazing idea, and I applaud them for doing it. But it didn't roll out as smoothly as anybody had anticipated. There was not enough time put into it, and I really humbly apologize that it created some wrinkles for our learners and for you guys as parents. And in that vein, I sort of, you know, shook my fist a bit, if you will, to try and champion you guys, and repealed Phoenix temporarily until such time as it's really operating where it needs to be. And with that repeal, we decided to go back and fall back on the things that we've used in the past. Upper school's been using Alma successfully for a while, and lower school's been using Seesaw successfully for a while. So we're going to put our time and energy into those. Part of our PD over the professional development over these next 2 weeks is to try and make it even more consistent for your students until such time as we feel that Phoenix is really ready to go. And when we do move to Phoenix next time, it will be a much slower, more deliberate rollout. We've actually hired a specific Phoenix person who can take point, who's rapidly becoming our Phoenix expert. And we didn't have somebody like that on staff. So I'm pretty confident when we decide to move to Phoenix again, you're not going to experience the problems that you had in the past. And in the interim, until we're absolutely confident that's the case, we're going to stick with things that we've done in the past. So I apologize if that's been difficult for anybody, but I hope in the coming weeks with this new plan and with our renewed energy into keeping things consistent for your kiddos online, that things are much smoother. And with that, I will conclude with a thought about partnership, unless any of my other SLT have anything else to add before we finish. Okay. Justine used the word partnership, and I think it's, you know, I talk all the time with my staff about what a great team we are at school and with our parents and with our kids. And I do not know exactly what the road ahead holds for us. My crystal ball's in the repair shop at the moment. But not knowing what lies ahead, I'm not worried and I'm not concerned about it, because we've always gotten through things in the past successfully together as partners. And I know we will in the future. And that's why you guys are here, and that's why we're here right now. So I really thank you for attending. I hope it was informative. Informative is the correct word. I should know that as an educator. So I hope it was informative and that you guys had a good time. Thanks so much. And we will do these as needed in the future. Go Raptors.
Caw, caw. I'm going to keep doing it.